did I put my phone? Found it. Jim, hey. Yeah, I just finished it too. Did you? Awesome. We gotta record a review. Come on, man. Hey everybody, welcome back to My Own Man Vlog. I'm Chris, and I brought my buddy Jim here to help me review Arkham Origins, the new Batman game from, well, I guess this time it's not Rocksteady.
It's not.
It's, I think Warner Brothers Interactive.
Montreal, correct?
Montreal, yes. It's Canadian, so it's gotta be nice, right? I mean...
Surprising amount of violence for a Canadian game.
Yeah, exactly.
I just kind of thought you would walk up to him, pardon me gentlemen, please disperse with the fighting. Thank you.
Yeah, but then Canadians did invent hockey.
That's true.
And that's probably one of the most violent sports around.
Fair enough.
This is the third game in the series, the first technically in the timeline, so it's kind of a prequel, so to speak. The reason I brought Jim here is because he brings a couple different things to the equation here. He's got an Xbox. I've played it on PS3. I know a lot about the Batman mythos. He knows basically the Nolanverse. Have you seen like the Adam West shows and that kind of stuff way back in the day?
Not seen the shows, but through the game have gone back and read about all these characters because I was interested in them. So I would say that the game made me more interested in it, and I looked it up.
Like, no, where'd you read about them though? In the comics or like on Wikipedia?
Like Wikipedia pages.
Okay.
Like I didn't go back and read. I'm not a reader.
Okay. So there you go. So comic based. Pop culture based, I guess would be the best way to put it. So,
also, dashing good looks would probably be a reason I was brought in for the ladies.
Alright, so let's dive right in here. We're going to break it down into three little sections: the story, the gameplay, and the looks. Alright, so first of all, we're going to talk about the basic story. Now, this one, like we said, is a prequel to the previous Arkham City and Arkham Asylum series. How would you think of the story of Arkham Origins?
I thought the story was fantastic. I mean, it did a good job of kind of showing growth. Like this isn't the Batman you had in Arkham City where he's like everyone knows him, he knows everyone, and he knows what he's doing. He didn't, know who most of these people are. He's learning about them as you learn about them. And at the same time, you see stuff where like he doesn't have the help or want the help of the police department. Some of them don't even think he exists at this point. So I liked to see all that growth kind of, and I think story-wise blended really well with the next two games. I
really liked the story also. It really dealt with basically, like you said, the origins of Batman. It was definitely a different take on the original Batman. You could tell that the later Batman is more grizzled. He deals with his "I'm not going to kill" policy. He's a lot more cautious, so to speak, whereas in the first one he's like dropping people from the top of a building, even though they're attached to something, but like landing through a tree and stuff like that. Later Batman's not going to do something like that.
Right.
So it's definitely an awesome early take on Batman. So also speaking of the storyline, you have Black Mask is basically the main villain in this, but he hires assassins to come after Batman, and this is all taking place on one night, Christmas Eve. So you've got Lady Shiva, Electrocutioner, you've got Firefly, Copperhead, Deadshot, and you've got Bane and Deathstroke. Of these, obviously you've heard of Bane because Dark Knight Rises. What was your first impression though of these assassins that basically Black Mask was hired to come after Batman?
Well, the first thing I did when like the game was announced and they put out that trailer, the first thing I did was go read about them because I was like, well, I need to know if I'm gonna have to fight these hooligans. I need to know why. So I did that, but my first impression when I played the game, the first major fight you get into is with Deathstroke. Loved it. Thought it was phenomenal. It's not easy by any standard, and there's some additions that the other games didn't have. So I was a big fan of that, and I was a big fan of the way that the characters were kind of presented in this, like, you meet each one as you're going, you're like, okay, now this guy wants to kill me, now this guy wants to kill me, now this guy. I thought it was well done. And for someone who, like we said, I didn't know a lot before I read this stuff, I thought it fit perfectly for the kind of storyline that the game was using.
This is kind of a great lead-in then to our next category of gameplay, which obviously the bosses are probably one of the biggest awesome parts of this game is the boss battles, because they aren't all exactly the same.
Right.
Each one has their own strengths and weaknesses like a normal boss, but I mean, you have to fight differently, which is kind of cool. Like you said with the Deathstroke one, it's basically a lot of just having to be able to counter his moves, that kind of stuff. Bane is more of a get the hell out of the way type thing. Also, I forgot to mention this, he played it on hard, whereas me, I normally played it on normal. And I played Arkham City on hard, and I couldn't even get past the first level, like the first section. So I'm not as good at these games, whereas you are just like a beast taking out people and getting awards and stuff here and there, left and right, and basically clearing the board, so to speak.
That's what I tried to, yeah. I've done the hard, and then I played whatever the next one is, the middle one, not the one before I Am the Night.
What do you think of the fighting mechanics? Do you think they've gotten better?
I think that they really only made 2 or 3 additions to the old game, it felt like, but I felt like the additions helped. You would fight the martial arts characters where you would have to use Y twice, or even a third time, because they'll kind of do a back and forth exchange.
For you PlayStation guys, that's the triangle button.
Triangle top button.
Yeah.
Xbox Y. I like that sometimes it was a timing thing in terms of a counter. You couldn't just mash buttons. Then other than that, a lot of it the same as the first 2.
Now, the one thing that really bugged me, because I was playing Arkham City leading up to it, was they switched the detective mode and the batarang buttons. They flip-flopped them. So many a time when I first started playing, I was trying to do detective mode, and I'd give away my position because I'd throw a batarang accidentally. So
the opposite of stealth.
Exactly.
I'm here.
I thought the fighting mechanics seemed a little bit more improved. I mean, it was pretty much the same as it was before, but like the fluidity felt a lot better.
Also did a good job of using, like, if you started fighting a guy by a wall, he would like slam his head into that wall.
Yeah, using
did
the
a good
environment.
job using the environment, which the other games didn't really. You could kind of like throw a guy almost through a wall, and like half his body would lay out of it.
Are you more of a brawler or more of a stealth guy when it comes to playing this game?
If it's one of like the street fight kind of deals, or it's an optional, like you can either go in and start fighting, I will normally just throw a smoke grenade, get in there, take 2 guys down, and start fighting them. But if it's like 7 guys with guns in a room, then I'll go around stealth. The big thing I started using this game, which I used another, was the Sonic Batarang. Really, when you have to be super stealthy, and you can just draw one guy over.
And you can you can separate them. They're not all going to go after like a dead body. They'll all go after.
Yeah,
whereas
just one
Sonic
guy's like,
Batarang,
what's that noise?
Yeah, they'll go over and notice that. Yeah, I'm more of a stealthy player, kind of. Well, I'll go through, like, I'll try to take it out. Like, I'll assess the situation beforehand. Like, if I'm approaching a crime scene or whatever, a bunch of guys going, I'll switch to detective mode, see which ones have the guns. You know. The goo bomb came in very handy for me. The weapons came in handy. I was more of like a gadget guy. I use my gadgets to my advantage instead of just a brawler. But I mean, there are those moments where it's just like, screw this, and you just want to just beat the heck out of everybody.
If I could get to where it was nobody with guns, then I was confident I could just jump in there and handle it then.
Also, a part of the new gameplay is the new detective mode, which is it's kind of got a CSI kind of feel to it. It's a little more interactive rather than just like scan this, scan that. Which just figured it out.
That still exists, the scan and scan, but it does it. It adds a little level, which I thought was cool.
This new detective mode doesn't really add more to make you the detective. Batman is still basically the detective because he's figuring it all out and holding your hand. Going through it.
And when you even play it in the harder modes, that doesn't change. It's never like it's always still like a red indicator over everything. Like, look at this. What could this be?
It's a nice addition to watching the crime happen, but it would have been nicer if you didn't have a red arrow sticking out.
Right, either don't do a red arrow or make it a cutscene and we'll just watch it, because there was never a point where it was like, oh, I had trouble with this. You just did it and it was a waste of time.
Yeah. You mentioned the Deathstroke battle. I mean, not the Deadshot battle.
Deadshot.
That was probably one of the toughest ones in there.
Yeah, that one was because you could never be seen. If you were seen, you were going to die. You drop down to get a guy, not seeing another guy come around a corner. They're going to shoot you, and then he's going to ricochet a bullet off of 16 walls, dead. It was frustrating.
On the opposite side, though, of the villain battles, you have the Electrocutioner, which the first time you meet him, it's just like, no, that cannot be the battle.
I genuinely thought my game glitched and I had like a bad miss.
Me too. I'm like sitting there, like he's standing there, and I'm kind of walking around, and I'm like, there's got to be something I gotta use, and it's like, I wonder if I just punch. What?
Yeah, done. Ball game. Punch him in the head one time. Yeah. Worst villain ever.
Leading into the look of the game, basically our overall impressions. What do you think? What was your overall impression of the game?
The easiest comparison is obviously comparing City and Origins because you're essentially in the same place, kind of. You know, the Origins is, I think, got to be about twice as big. It felt like it was cool to see some of the same places were exactly the same. Like you would go to those parts and like every building was in the same spot, and I thought they did a good job of building off of that, and then still branching out and making it feel like its own, like that.
The city that they cordon off for Arkham City. Mm-hmm. All those buildings. I mean, they're still newer, but they're
upgraded.
They're there. I mean, so you're like, oh wait, I remember this. But overall, I mean, the look and feel was pretty cool. I would say if you're a fan of the series, pick it up. Ask for it for Christmas, whatever you want. It's not really the best of the series.
No.
The story itself is pretty awesome. And by the way, don't go after the freaking Riddler trophies.
Don't.
Not worth it. I'll let him.
Worst.
Jim, this is your spotlight. Go ahead.
It's the worst thing ever because like in City. You went through, you got all the trophies, boom, boom, boom. Then you actually went and had another boss fight. Like, you worked hard to get a bonus boss fight. Mm-hmm. So I assumed, being the fan of the game, I think, all right, well, I gotta do this again because I want to get to the extra boss fight. So I go around the city, which, again, remember, is now twice as big. And I tried to work in sections, but it's still a lot of work. And
it is. I got all those data packs and as soon as you told me it wasn't worth it, I'm done. Forget that.
You get them all, and you go back, and there's a room. Wait, put up the spoiler thing.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. For a spoiler that's depressing, you go into the room that's been locked the whole game, this room of mysteries and secrets. I assume I'm heading into somebody's warehouse. Open the door. Uh-oh, there's nothing here. I had a slight panic attack because I thought, did I do all of this for nothing? Then I realized, hold on, I can jump a little ledge here, boop, and then there's a false wall. So now I'm like, all right, cool, we're gonna go in here, handle some business. Blow open the false wall, inside, one Riddler trophy. One, Hana, Uno. And so I pick it up thinking, well, maybe this will trigger something. You get, like on Xbox, you get the little achievement unlock that just says unlocked first Riddler trophy. The end. The end of everything you did was for one Riddler trophy. It's just the fact you have to do 200 little things and go back into these enormous buildings to find some. And you do all this. Nothing.
Typical bait and switch. It's worse than the Electrocutioner fight.
Yeah, and that's pretty tough to do because I was just punched a dude in the head one time. If that was how easy it was to be Batman, then Chuck Liddell would be Batman in like a heartbeat and just punch one dude in the head once and now he's Batman.
Chuck Liddell.
Yeah, wow. Nice, man.
Chuck Liddell picture here.
Look at Chuck. He can do whatever he wants. Now imagine him punch you in the head one time, he's Batman.
Boom, he's Batman. Okay, so we're going to hop into a little spoiler territory.
We get to use the graphic again.
Yep.
Yes!
Okay, so yeah, it is. It's nice and sparkly, like Electrocutioner had it. It's some sparks.
Punch it in the head once, and I'll fall over.
As you might know, the Joker is in this game.
He is,
but
which wasn't a big secret because they had done
they had mentioned that Luke Skywalker no longer is doing the voice of him. But
which was something I didn't know until they told me that's who the voice was.
Yeah, he did all the way through the animated series.
That's what I did a bunch of reading.
He does a lot of voice acting, and also Kevin Conroy never does or isn't doing Batman this time. But I mean, it makes sense because they're younger. I mean, we're talking like this is probably a good 20 years beforehand, probably. The interaction, because this is the first time Batman is meeting the Joker, basically, and the interaction, the reveal of the Joker, you kind of pick up on it a little later, but that story and play with him is is probably one of the best parts of the whole game.
Yeah.
It's right up there with basically Heath Ledger dealing with Christian Bale's character, version of Batman. I mean, it's toying with it's awesome. It basically builds the relationship between Batman and Joker. It's awesome.
It shows like his fixation with him and his want to force him to kill. I mean that. We are still in the spoiler section.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
so
Spoil away. You can talk anything about this.
Well, the second Bane fight is, either Batman's gonna die, Bane's gonna die, or the Joker's gonna die, is the way it's rigged up.
Yep.
And so it's like forcing him to either kill or be killed. Now Batman being Batman gets around it. And then and this is also one of the first times that he starts to work with Gordon, was in that cut scene. And then after that you fight with Gordon, which surprisingly a good fighter. He handled his own.
Yeah.
He was in there knocking dudes out.
He's not the old grizzled Gordon that just like, somebody go after him, I got a bad back or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't just be like, oh, Batman, please.
And it is kind of cool when with the little moment that you have with his daughter, a.k.a. Bat, who eventually becomes Batgirl, who you kind of help her out, but then later on you get Gordon calling you over the headset and basically asking for your help. So it's you're getting you're setting in stone the friendship between Gordon and Batman, the non-stop feud between Batman and Joker. I mean, that's the Origins part. Forget the Arkham part. The Arkham part is the series. The Origins you're setting up these storylines which come from later games, which are technically the first games, but. So basically, that's our review of Arkham Origins. I would say pick it up if you're a fan of the other two, because it's a nice kind of conclusion to it, and it's awesome. I mean, the story's great. Ask for it for Christmas, whatever you want to do. What would you say?
I would agree. I think the key to it is having like the other two games, because if you really enjoyed those, you'll enjoy this. And I guess you could also look at it, if you haven't played any other games, this will be like one of the coolest video games you've ever played.
Absolutely.
For the people who have played the other two, it's kind of like an expansion pack. I don't say that in a negative way, in that it doesn't change a whole lot. You get a whole nother story, you get a bunch more hours of playing time, and you get a game that's still a whole lot of fun. So, yes, it kind of feels very similar to the last game, but at the same time, it is definitely worth the purchase and a lot of fun.
So, question of the day. I want to know in the comments below, what is your favorite video game series? Put it down there. Is it the Arkham series? Is it the Uncharted series? Is it the Halo series?
Don't give me an eye roll when you say Halo. Those games are fantastic.
Halo would have nothing if it wasn't for GoldenEye.
That's not. I don't understand how that's an argument. That's a statement of fact about video games. It's still a great game.
Somebody agree. Oh, okay, whatever. But anyway, so favorite video game in the comments below. Also remember, you can find us on Twitter at the address on the screen here. You can get updates from us when it comes to information about nerdy and geeky type stuff. Also, whenever the videos come out, they'll pop up there. Also, you can find Jim at the Twitter on the comments below.
I do the tweets.
The tweets on the Twitter.
I do them.
I'll put his address down here in the comments, not in the comments, in the description below.
Click on it.
Yeah, you can find that and follow him. He's pretty funny. Some pretty funny stuff.
I try.
Just a heads up, he's a Heat fan, so
enjoy.
Tread lightly.
It doesn't get bad till the playoffs.
But
LeBron had 35 last night. I didn't say anything.
Anyway, for My Elevator Vlog, I'm Chris.
I'm Jim.
I'll see you next time.
Now
somebody that dubs themselves the king.
He didn't call himself that. Let's put that on America's shoulders. Also, the fact that King James just kind of fits pretty well.
Yeah.
Sorry.